Before we begin, this story contains strong language and descriptions of violence. Take care when listening.
To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free call, press 2. Thank you for using.
It's Friday night, around 6.
I'm so stressed out.
This is Daniel. He's calling from a prison in Massachusetts.
What's going on?
I'm so stressed out, Dugan. I mean, you're the only number I can call. I'm so stressed out.
We've been talking for months now, but I've never heard him like this.
Can you tell me what's going on?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Dugan?
Daniel's a former gang member turned police informant, and he has an extraordinary story.
Dugan, I'm so stressed out.
Yeah, can you tell me what's going on?
I'm just going through something right now. Okay, I just need your help.
Daniel's not his real name, and we're using an actor to give voice to his exact words, because he says his life is in danger.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I just have a lot going on. Okay, you're the only person I can get in contact with right now. I'm so stressed out. I'm just going through some stuff right now.
When I got off this call, my editors asked me to tell them what happened. And he just kept saying, I need your help. I need your help. You're the only person whose number I know. You're the only person who can reach out. You see, word got out about Daniel being an informant. He was burned, and now he's scared. He's told me about threats. He was just begging me to reach out to his girlfriend and have her call him, tell her it was an emergency and that he needed to talk to her immediately. And Daniel worked with New Bedford Police for months. He informed on other gang members, at great risk to himself. He's somebody who I guess I feel kind of protective of. And having seen him in jail and having seen, how young he looks and having seen the details of sort of what he's gone through, that was just a hard thing to listen to. Daniel didn't want to be a CI, but he also didn't want to go back to jail. So he put his faith into a system that promised to protect him. Clearly, it didn't work out that way. This podcast is about all the ways in which law enforcement exploits, manipulates, and cheats the informant system. I've already told you about the New Bedford cop who tried to explain his illegal boat raid simply by uttering the magic letters CI. It's like the ultimate hall pass. Drop the word informant, and it's no questions asked. But now, I want to tell you about the other side of this game. The people who put their trust in police with a promise that no one will ever find out. That's what they pledged to Daniel, but they broke that promise. Daniel always knew that if members of his gang found out he was a snitch, he'd be in serious trouble. What he didn't anticipate was being betrayed by police.
This is a very serious allegation. We can't have officers involved in anything like what's being alleged here.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dugan Arnett, and from the Boston Globe Spotlight team, this is Snitch City. Episode 2, Blind Trust.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Daniel and I developed a system. When I needed to reach him, I'd text his girlfriend, and she'd get word to him. A day or two later, my phone would ring. Sometimes we talked about mundane things.
So if you want to watch a movie, you got to use your canteen money.
Yeah, you have to download them, and they cost $3 each movie.
Sometimes we'd spend hours going over the finer details of his story.
Walk me through that stop.
They brought me into the station after, and then that's when they're like...
Sometimes we talk about the future.
When you get out, what do you what will you do?
Get a job, work, stay out the way, just do what I have to do, stay away from all the negative stuff.
I got used to seeing the prison number pop up on my phone. and scrambling to turn on my recorder.
Would you have some time to chat a little bit more? I just had like
I could call a little later.
Yeah, that works for me. I'll be in the office until late, so yeah, just give me a ring and I'll make sure I'm here.
All right, bye.
All right, see ya.
Thanks, Dugan.
The caller has hung up.
I wish I could tell you everything I know about Daniel, but we're protecting his identity because he could face retaliation for talking to me, from other inmates, from members of his former gang, even from law enforcement. You're going to hear a lot from him in this episode, and I want to be clear. Daniel was a gang member. He broke the law, many of them, in fact. Still, the stories he shared, many of the details are backed up by police reports and court documents. While I can't tell you every detail about Daniel, you've probably heard backstories like his before, at least in broad strokes. Daniel's father is in prison when he's born. His mom does her best to raise him and his siblings, but
There was only so much she can do, you know what I'm saying?
sports were an escape from some of the unpleasant aspects of childhood, but only kept him occupied for so long.
Eventually got to the point where we barely play basketball and we just smoke weed.
His teen years are marked by arrests for drug dealing, assault, gun possession, one for domestic violence, and he spends stretches in juvenile lockup. But on the outside, he's increasingly drawn to the action of gang life. Daniel's introduction to the informant world came a few years back, when he was 19. It happens the way it does for most people. He gets caught doing something illegal. He's carrying drugs one night when the police pull him over. He foists the drugs on the young woman in the passenger seat next to him, and she shoves them down her pants.
Then they put us out the car. They found it on the girl and they locked me up too, saying that they seen me hand it to her.
They cuff him and take him to the police station. He's gutted. He's only recently gotten out of jail, and he's panicked by the thought of going back. At the police station, Daniel's walked past desks strewn with paperwork. Two officers sit him down and start pressing him.
They kind of knew like I was affiliated with a lot of known gang members, stuff like that.
It becomes clear that they don't really care about the drugs, that they're more interested in making a deal.
Basically, they'll let this disappear if I do something for them.
They want him to inform, to snitch. They tell him that no one will ever know, that his name will never end up in paperwork, that it will be a confidential and brief alliance.
Did they give you much time to think about it? Like, how long is all this playing out? What's the conversation like?
That was kind of quick, you know? Like, it was like in and out.
Daniel knows what he's supposed to do. It's part of a code ingrained in him and kids like him since childhood. It's in the DNA of the hip-hop he was raised on, the gangland movies he's seen. Keep your mouth shut. But he's hesitating.
Like, I don't want to go to jail. And that was really it.
Daniel just wants to go home, and the police are giving him a simple way to do that.
They just wanted one gun, and then they was like, you'll be done. Basically, just this one time type shit. You know what I'm saying?
So he makes a decision. He'll do it. Just this once.
And I was just like, all right, whatever. You know?
The officers put some paperwork in front of him, registering him as a confidential informant.
Well, I signed it. And then when I signed, they were like, you have a week.
1 week to give cops enough information to get one gun off the street. Then, Daniel's off the hook. But that's not what happens. Daniel says within days, he helps police make an arrest and gun seizure. But they want more.
At first, they kind of made it seem like I still owed them.
Daniel tries to keep his cool. But this goes beyond the one-gun deal.
The second time, I'm like, okay, if I don't do this, then what are they going to be on some shit with me? So let me just do this one last time.
But the demands keep coming. A third, a fourth, a fifth time.
I was supposed to be done, but after they just kept calling me and texting me, do you got anything? Do you got anything? After that, it just kept going and going and going.
To Daniel, it's not a choice. And of course, he can't tell anyone or turn to anyone. He fears that if he puts his foot down, they could bring back the drug charge.
I wasn't gonna win. I just did whatever they wanted. I mean, whatever they wanted me to do, I would do it.
He feels trapped, isolated, and terrible about giving up people that he knows.
I obviously felt guilty, no matter who it was. You know what I'm saying?
Arrangements like the one Daniel made are everyday occurrences in police departments across the country. Open the file on pretty much any drug investigation, and you're likely to find a confidential informant. But experts say that in Massachusetts and other states, there are no laws on the books to protect informants. It's left to local police departments, even campus cops, to establish the rules. As a CI, Daniel was a regular source of information for police. By his own account, he helped officers make several arrests and get guns off the street. Daniel says he was never paid for this work, unlike some informants. And from his point of view, police leaned on him too much. Before long, Daniel feels like all of his energy is going into managing this double life. He's seen what can happen to people suspected of working with police.
Few kids I was cool with, they got beat up. They got beat up crazy.
But Daniel's holding out hope that no one will ever find out that he's working as a CI. Until one night, when it all comes crashing down. He's out driving around when again, police stop him.
And they pulled us over, and then I was sitting in the car. Basically, there was state police and everybody there.
He knows that to get out of this, all he has to do is tell the cops that he's a CI and mention the name of his handler. So that's what he does. But then, one of the cops taking notes asks Daniel how to spell his name.
I was just kind of looking down. It was raining, drizzling a little bit. I didn't pay no mind. And then he took down my name, and he's like, how do you spell it? And I looked up at him, and I seen who it was.
Immediately, Daniel realizes he's seen this cop before. He remembers the piercing blue eyes. Daniel first saw him several months earlier at a park. The cop was hanging out with one of Daniel's fellow gang members, a guy I'm calling Jack, but that's not his real name. Jack is older than Daniel. His arms are covered in tattoos. And Daniel kind of looked up to Jack, who's a heavy hitter with a long criminal record, including arrests for drugs and assault, battery of a police officer, stalking a rival with a revolver in his waistband. So it stood out to Daniel to see this guy Jack chatting so casually with a New Bedford cop. The officer had dark hair and piercing blue eyes. Seeing the two of them together was strange enough that Daniel asked Jack about it.
I was trying to figure out what happened. Is he fucking with you? No, he's no, he's mad cool. He used to go to high school with me. He's cool, you know what I'm saying? He was yeah, they communicated and all that, and they had each other's phone numbers and all that. They were cool.
And there was something else, too.
And Jack was telling me, yo, that cop tells me everything.
That cop tells me everything. And that cop is Alexander Polson.
Okay, so Polson, could you please state your name for the record, spelling your last name?
My name is Alexander Polson. So spell last name?
Yes.
My last name is spelled Polson.
New Bedford is a good-sized city that feels a lot like a small town. People on both sides of the law grow up in the same neighborhoods, share classrooms and athletic fields.
Okay, and how long have you been employed by New Bedford Police?
I've been employed since January 3rd, 2021.
Officer Alex Polson grew up near New Bedford and attended area schools.
And have you always worked out of the South End Station for your career?
For majority, yes. I think I worked out of Station 3 for...
Back in high school, Polson was kind of preppy. He played football, soccer, lacrosse, and hockey. In his yearbook, he quotes Wayne Gretzky, "I don't skate to the puck, I skate to where it's going to be." In a senior photo, Polson's hair is closely cropped. He's wearing a white collared shirt and a navy plaid tie. He has a square chin, steely blue eyes, and a subtle smile. Back then, Polson and Jack, the older member of Daniel's gang, hung out. They forged a friendship over video games.
How often do you speak with him?
It's like here and there. We don't talk every day, maybe once a month, maybe once every 3 months.
While Polson was busy playing high school sports, Jack was getting into trouble and becoming a budding player in the local gang world. They were an odd pair, but close enough that once, when Polson was getting harassed by another teenager, Jack stepped in and fought the bully.
Is that when you felt loyalty to him?
I wouldn't say loyalty.
What would you call it back then?
We were
friends
just
before
friends.
that?
Yeah, we were friends before that, sir.
As kids, they were pals. Jack had Polson's back. But as adults, their loyalties should have shifted. Jack to the gang, and Polson to the police. After becoming a cop, Polson says he let Jack know that things had changed.
From the very beginning. If it ever came down to it, and we had a situation where if I had to arrest him, I told him I would, and he understood that from the very beginning.
Daniel, of course, had no idea about how far back Jack's friendship with Alex Polson went. So when Daniel's pulled over that night and tries to use his status as a CI to get out of trouble, he realizes he's just outed himself to one of Jack's friends, the blue-eyed cop.
I was kind of sick to my stomach.
Immediately, Daniel calls his handler, an officer named Nate Almeida. Daniel is in tears. Almeida tries to calm him down and promises he'll take care of it.
And Nate's like, yeah, don't worry. I'm going to pull him into the office and we're going to talk to him or whatever, and we're going to figure this out.
And Almeida made good on that promise, according to Polson.
Nate Almeida called me, said, meet me at the station. And I was kind of thrown off because I'm like, okay, I've never talked to Nate in my life. He's like, hey, this kid name dropped you.
Said, you're friends with Jack.
And his advice was you can't help who you grew up with. Just make sure that you are careful.
But he's not careful enough. Polson doesn't follow that advice. It's clear Polson and Jack have been talking. And now Jack, a guy police call a top-tier gang associate, knows that Daniel's broken the code they're supposed to live by. This dangerous reality hits Daniel when he's with Jack at a neighborhood store. Jack tells him that he's been chatting with his old friend, Alex Polson.
You know that cop I'm cool with? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, yo, he was trying to throw some dirt on your name type shit. And he was saying some shit happened and you was working with some people and shit like that.
Daniel remembers this conversation vividly because in it, Jack revealed that Polson gave him an explicit warning.
That kid Daniel you're cool with, watch him. Stay away from him.
It's in this moment that Daniel says he knows, for sure, that this cop with the blue eyes has outed him. And now, the only thing Daniel can do is try and convince Jack that his pal Polson was wrong.
That boy bugging, he's tripping, you feel me? He must have got some names mixed up or something, you feel me?
How nervous are you? How worried are you at this point?
I was a little nervous, but, I gotta brush it off. I can't show that. I gotta keep the poker face on. But inside, I was of course I was nervous. There was guns around and shit. Shit could go any way,
And once word gets out, Daniel does everything he can to deny it.
I felt like there was a magnifying glass on me, where some people heard that, and they were like, what the fuck is that cop saying? Why the fuck is that cop saying that? But then some people were like, nah, that cop must be bugging out. No, not Daniel, not him.
Every conversation, every interaction starts to feel like a test. He says one night, a group of older gang members approaches him with what feels like the ultimate test. Recently, someone from their area had been shot. Now, they want Daniel to take part in the retaliation.
it didn't feel like a choice to you?
Yeah, basically. You know, I couldn't be like, nah, I'm straight. Like, I kind of like had to go. I'd be looked at even more funny, you know what I'm saying?
They hand Daniel a gun and tell him, don't come back until it's empty.
You know what I was thinking? That there was no way that we were going to get out of that position.
So Daniel gets into a stolen car with a group of guys. Their drive is quiet, no phones, tension in the air. They pull up to a car idling under a street lamp, get out of the car, and open fire. Somehow, miraculously, no one's hit.
Oh, it didn't play out as bad as I thought it was going to be. Nobody got shot.
Nobody got shot. Police did recover 18 bullet casings from at least 3 different guns. Later, Daniel claims he intended all along to shoot wildly, to miss on purpose. Not long after the shooting, an email goes out to the entire New Bedford Police Department. Detectives are looking for 3 suspects. In the records I obtained, police redacted the names of the suspects, so I don't know if Daniel's name was on the list. But I do know one of them was another member of Daniel's gang, and Jack's younger cousin. Alex Polson isn't part of this shooting investigation, but he reads the email, sees his friend's cousin's name, and makes a strange call. Polson calls a detective who's working the investigation and tells this detective that they've got it wrong about Jack's cousin.
I said, I don't think he was part of it. He's not a gun kid. I had kind of formed the opinion on my own and was like, I don't really think he'd be involved in that.
But Polson was wrong, or lying. Jack's cousin previously had been arrested for gun possession. Polson's unsolicited intervention doesn't end there. He tells the detective that he can help. He knows this guy's cousin, Jack, from way back. He can reach out and try to find out more. The detective is clearly uneasy with this suggestion, and he warns Polson, be careful. Later that night, Polson and Jack's cousin meet in the parking lot of a waterfront bar. According to Polson, Jack's cousin denies taking part in the shooting, and the cousin offers several names of people he says were involved. One of them is Daniel. Everyone's telling on everyone. All this time, Daniel's been terrified of Jack finding out he was a snitch. But guess what? I figured out that Jack, the ruthless gang leader, and his cousin, they snitched too. To take out a snitch, someone else had to snitch. And now, Daniel's a suspect. Within days of Polson's parking lot meetup with Jack's cousin, Daniel's picked up by police for questioning. And he spills his guts.
I admitted to it because I was telling them the honest conversation and the thing, breaking it down to him. I was working with this person, and then I'm breaking it down to him.
Daniel tells police about his work as an informant, about Jack and his close ties to Officer Polson, and about being outed, and about how, because of that, he felt he had to prove his loyalty to the gang. Then, perhaps naively, he admits to pulling the trigger in not just 1, but 2 shootings. In these 2 instances, Daniel says he had no choice.
I think of it all together, and I'd be like, damn, I wish I did have a fucking time machine.
Daniel thinks he's doing the right thing by coming clean. He thinks that because he's a CI and has been outed, police will understand he had no choice, and they'll let him off the hook. But he's just confessed to 2 shootings. Of course they charge him with attempted assault and battery with a firearm. But New Bedford Police can't ignore the other part of Daniel's story. Everything he told them about Polson and Jack's relationship triggers an internal affairs investigation. And that's the tape we've been using to tell this story.
Have you ever told anyone outside of the New Bedford Police Department about the progress of an ongoing investigation?
No, sir.
Despite Polson's denials, investigators are skeptical about his relationship with Jack.
So do you consider yourself friends, good friends? What do you consider you?
More only acquaintance.
Okay.
I don't call him to hang out on the weekend.
So he's got your cell phone number?
He does, yeah.
Okay.
Which has since been blocked.
All right. Do you have his number stored in your cell phone?
I don't.
Okay. Did you before?
I did, yes.
All right. When did you block it?
After the complaint came out.
After this complaint came out? Okay. So you've deleted it or blocked it?
It's deleted and blocked.
Investigators want to know why Jack takes Polson's calls at all, if they're not close. As he struggles to answer the investigators' questions, Polson says something incredible. That Jack has actually provided information to Polson before, as a kind of off-the-books informant. In fact, what Polson says is that Jack has twice given him Daniel's nickname as someone for police to look into.
Why would he trust you if you're not that close? He wouldn't give it to any other cop, I'm sure. If a cop called him, he's going to say, go pound top.
Yeah.
Why would he do that if you're not as close as you say you are?
I don't know. That's the second time he's done it, though.
This is an astonishing statement, and it confirms two things. One, that Jack was snitching on Daniel, and two, that Polson and Jack had been discussing Daniel. Lieutenant Robert Holmes also presses Polson about the unsolicited call he made to the detective on the shooting, saying Jack's cousin is not a gun guy.
If I don't make a claim like that, I'd have to be 110% sure that this guy ain't a gun guy for me to tell a detective this guy ain't a gun guy. That's a serious thing. And then he tells you the guy's involved in a gun thing. You as an officer, you vouch for someone, another officer is going to take that seriously. If the sergeant tells me something, I'm going to believe my sergeant, right? You as an officer tells another officer something, he's more likely to believe you than an average Joe on the street. So if you tell someone, hey, that guy's not a gun guy, shouldn't you be a lot more, what I'm looking for, matter of fact, know that this guy ain't a gun guy before you make an accusation like that? Or you see how that could look like you're just trying to help a friend?
Yeah.
If you still consider yourself good friends?
Not at this point, no. I wouldn't consider good friends. They're just, like I said,
Well,
it's
pretty
more-
good. You're sharing information. He's giving you intel. You're vouching for a guy you're not even that close to. You don't consider that. You had his number in your phone, right?
Investigators want to know why Polson's phone has been wiped clean.
Well,
just-
on that note, though, it's a little concerning to me that after you learned of this, you deleted everything out of your phone. Don't you think maybe you should have left it there? So if we did have questions, it does look like if you have nothing to hide, why?
Another investigator confronts Polson about specific text messages with Jack that Polson deleted, but that investigators were able to recover.
Did you send these text messages?
Take your time reading it a little bit lengthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you did send that?
Yeah.
It appears to be a warning to Jack that police are ramping up their investigation into a recent shooting.
They know who these guys are. Do you think that might be giving them just a little too much information? Granted, it's not specific,
Yeah.
but even saying that the police are going to turn, your exact words were, they're definitely going to bump the heat up. Do you think you should be giving them anything at all? Do you think you should be even saying that much information to them?
Looking at it now, I would say no. Looking at it then, I think we had a bunch of shootings in that week. So for me, it was bumping the heat up. It was just because of all the stuff that was going on, and it was just like.
But why do you
felt
want
like
to
it was
inform them
nonstop.
of that? Even if it's a tactic of ours, why would you even want to give them any type of knowledge that we may be sitting around or setting up on some things for the next few days to let them know, you're a smart guy, you're an officer. What stops them from calling up their friends saying, hey, lay low for the next 2-3 days?
Yeah.
Cops are sitting out there, they're going to be watching out. So if you're doing any dumb shit, lay low for a whole week even.
Investigators aren't just digging into Polson's relationship with Jack. They're also trying to get to the bottom of Daniel's story. Did a fellow officer really burn Daniel?
You read the allegation, right? And he's telling us you're giving up sensitive information. You see how that concerns this department? And then you do certain things that make it a little bit more suspicious by deleting phone records and deleting text messages that we can't look at, making statements that...
They want to know if Polson shared information with Jack and his cousin.
We can't have officers involved in anything like what's being alleged here.
Yes, sir.
Very, very serious. And that's why we're very concerned and we're going to be very thorough in this to make sure, whether it's on purpose or by accident, that you're not giving out information that you really shouldn't be giving out. And for this gentleman, and you read the complaint, to say that, he basically said you're working with these two guys and, we're giving them information. Is very concerning to us. Is there anything you want to add on your behalf on anything that we brought up today?
No, not this time, no.
Today, Daniel's in prison, navigating that world, knowing that his identity as an informant is out there, and constantly afraid of what's next.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of close calls. I try to avoid it, you know what I'm saying? But there have been a bunch of close calls.
How do you live with that kind of stress constantly?
I don't know. I wake up and I just be hoping for the best. I can't even tell you. Honestly, I just go with the flow. Now I'm in the situation where I'm around a whole bunch of other known violent gang members, and it's all the way fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
It's a small world. All it'll take is the wrong person showing up.
It just depends on who's on the unit and who comes through the door.
So each day, he keeps his head down and keeps watch.
Like, I could be good today and the last week and week before that, but then they let the wrong face come through here.
Each night, he stays up, peering out of his cell and watching as new inmates are marched in.
So I can see every new face that comes into the jail,
Daniel studies each of them.
Because if I don't see who's coming into jail, then I might not see somebody and I might not know, that person knows me. And when I wake up, something's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying?
But all his precautions haven't been enough.
This kid approached me with a knife in his pocket and, he was like, "We heard you was working with the police and shit. Now you gotta get the fuck up out of here. You're gonna get stabbed."
Later, he made that desperate call to me.
Are you all right?
Yeah, it's just have a lot going on. I'm so stressed out. I'm just going through some stuff right now.
He begs me to reach out to his girlfriend.
And you want me to what do you want me to tell her? That you're just...
Hey, tell her it's an emergency. I said it's an emergency and he needs to talk as soon as possible, please.
I didn't hear from Daniel for months after that call. I began to worry I never would. But finally, he did reach out to me. He told me that he was doing okay, and said he hoped something would come from him sharing his story. When a police source first tipped me to this case, I was skeptical. But a lot of what Daniel's told me has rung true. Much of it is backed up by police reports, court documents, and by Alex Polson himself. Polson called me one night, not too long ago, after I asked for an interview. He talked about being childhood friends with Jack, but said they don't hang out anymore. Polson denied sharing Daniel's name with Jack, or sharing any police information. In the course of our conversation, he named 3 people who were informing to police, a clear breach of policy. Polson said it's widely known in New Bedford who's working with police. Quote, "It's kind of messed up over there because everybody knows who's telling." He called it common sense. The police department didn't respond to numerous questions from the Globe or interview requests. The department issued a statement saying that the allegations flagged by the Globe have been, quote, "investigated to resolution and made public," or lacked a credible basis to pursue further investigation. New Bedford Police eventually completed the internal investigation. Given the seriousness of the allegations, the scope of the probe is surprisingly limited. They didn't speak to Jack or his younger cousin, and they only interviewed 4 people. 3 of them were New Bedford cops. In the end, the IA report doesn't assert that Polson outed Daniel as an informant. But the investigation is clear that Polson had released sensitive police information to gang members. That's a serious breach of policy. A former IA investigator told me it could be a fireable offense, one that would put Polson's name on something called the Brady List. That's a list prosecutors keep of problematic officers who might not be trustworthy. But a police higher-up viewed it very differently and overruled the investigator's findings. At the bottom of the report, he crossed out the charge with a pen and replaced it with a much lighter one. Ultimately, the only penalty Alex Polson faced was a single counseling session. Polson's still a member of the New Bedford Police today. And the person whose signature is next to the crossed-out charge in Polson's case is a man named Paul Oliveira.
There is a new top cop in New Bedford tonight. The police department appointing a new chief this afternoon.
It's a tremendous honor and privilege
Oliveira is New Bedford's chief of police.
for me to accept the role of police chief for this department that I am so proud of. Again, I thank you for this opportunity and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Oliveira is part of Alex Polson's story. He knew about George Santos on the waterfront, and he knows a lot more. The deeper I've gotten into this investigation, the more I realize how far back all this goes. As a young drug cop, Oliveira was molding the department's CI culture into something no one had seen before.
He was reinventing the wheel, so to speak. It was new to hear, and it was new for us.
After months of trying, I got someone to go on the record and tell me all about it. A guy who served alongside Oliveira in narcotics.
There's a few people that know this stuff about Paul Oliveira right from the womb, right? Who have lived it with him. And I was one of those people.
He and others tell me about informant abuse, crimes, cover-ups, and so much more. That's next time on Snitch City. Spotlight Snitch City is reported and hosted by me, Dugan Arnett. Additional reporting by Andrew Ryan and Brendan McCarthy. The podcast is written by Max Green and Kristen Nelson, along with me and Brendan McCarthy. Max Green is senior producer. Executive producers are Spotlight editor Brendan McCarthy and Kristen Nelson, the Globe's head of audio. Additional editing and support from Gordon Russell and Kathleen Goldhar. Safanias is the actor who brought Daniel's words to life. Nancy Barnes is the Boston Globe's executive editor. Sound design and mix by Stephen Jackson. Episode artwork by Julian D. Polson. Art direction by Ryan Huddle. Podcast visualization by Olivia Yarvis and Anush Elbakian. Heather Cyrus is the audience editor. Tim Rasmussen is visuals editor. Legal review by John Albano. Fact-checking by Matt Mahoney. Marketing support for this podcast comes from The Podglomerate.